Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for listening to this message that I'd like to share with you. The name of the topic that I want to talk about in this video is Distortions, Amplification, and Purification. And so, what I want to say is that it's becoming more and more clear to more and more people all over the world. All of the distortions that have infiltrated all of the systems it is that we live by. And this has been going on for many, many years now, but because of where it is we are on our path as a collective, as humanity, and where it is we are on our path of ascension, that these distortions are really being amplified now. And you can see them, feel them, and hear them in all the different areas of our life. And so what I mean by distortions is any place it is, there's a lack of purification, where purity does not exist. So we can see them within ourselves as we go down this path. And that's what ascension is about. It's a purification process. But we can also see it in the outside world, in those outside systems as well. And by systems, I mean from our educational system, our entertainment system, our healthcare system, our politics, all of it. And even in professional sports. So what really kind of motivated me to do this video is watching the Super Bowl yesterday. And so what I mean when I say a lack of purification and distortions is that it feels more and more now like everywhere it is we turn, there's messaging coming at us from the media, from the advertisements, from the entertainment, from what we watch with sports. Everywhere it is we turn, there's these messages that are coming our way that hold an agenda behind them. They hold an agenda behind them. And the more aware you become, the more it is you see it everywhere. It is like the law of attraction. Like attracts like. So the more it is you see it, the more you hear it, the more you feel it, the more you see in these different aspects of life where it is that is occurring. So even last night, as we are, let me just go back to like a lack of purification. So these distortions mean that it's like the messages that we're hearing, it's not coming from a pure place, from a place that would empower, or from a place it is that would inspire, or from a place it is that would bring joy, or from a place it is that would inspire you to create. Or to from a place that inspires sovereignty. The messaging it is that's coming out, that's being amplified for us to see, so much so that it feels like we're literally being squeezed like a sponge, until we squeeze out that sponge until the last drop, and then there's no more drops and we're still being squeezed. Or like really the reins on a horse, where the reins are just tightening and tightening and tightening, and you can feel it energetically. It almost feels a little suffocating, like you can't breathe, because of what's coming our way from the powers that be, or those that control these outside messages. So instead of coming from the places it is that I just mentioned, it's coming from a place of, instead of empowerment, disempowerment. Instead of encouraging, it have messages that would make one feel like hopeless or helpless. Instead of joy, these messages do the opposite of that. They make us feel frustrated. They make us upset. They can put you into a state of depression, depending on how much it is you immerse yourself in these messages. And so like even or you engage in the systems that promote these messages. All right. So social media, all of the communication platforms that are out there. And so that, to my point, that's why we're starting to see more and more censorship, right? That it's the messaging that is coming our way is being controlled and controlled and controlled and controlled and controlled and controlled. All right. And that's what is giving us that kind of suffocating feeling too. So even with things like the Super Bowl, so you're watching the Super Bowl, right? Which is like almost like a national holiday for us here in the States. It's a big tradition of ours, and it's a time where a lot of us come together to be happy and to see friends and to eat good food and to cheer on our teams and all of those things. But now, even when you're sitting down to watch something like the Super Bowl, even intertwined in the game, there are messages being thrown our way that if you paid close attention to, and you're starting to see, you would have seen all kinds of messages coming our way, even in things like the Super Bowl, which would seem like innocent, right? It's a national sport that we celebrate here. What could be not so pure innocent about that? Well, if you paid attention and you start to become more and more aware, you see, oh my gosh, look at the propaganda that they're throwing our way. Propaganda. It's like an indoctrination to what it is the powers that be want us to see, feel, and believe. And a lot of that agenda would hold messaging in there that would inspire separation, that would inspire separation from ourselves and the truth, separation from one another, a divide between us, feelings of disempowerment, messages that are not uplifting. Even in aspects of the entertainment. I mean, if you took a look at the entertainment last night, is that something that we would want our kids to watch, to be excited and happy about, to aspire to look at these performers as role models for our children? I mean, truthfully, who are those dancers out there on the field, all bandaged up with their heads bandaged up and scary makeup on, marching like robots, almost like you would see in North Korea? That didn't come from a pure place. That did not. If it did, there would be joy out there on the field. There would be dancers out there in pretty outfits, moving to, from a place of joy and artistic beauty and things like that. That's not what we saw last night. So that's just an example in between all of the other messages that were intertwined in different parts of that experience. And it's, things are being amplified. They're going to become more amplified for us to see, to the point where they're like screaming at us to see it for what it is, to break through the illusions that we held in place, that with the systems it is that we believed in, with the people it is that we thought were really representing us, that our belief in that outside world, where it is we thought we were free. Censorship is not a representation of freedom. So these are examples of where we're going to start to see more and more and more of these distortions playing out in every aspect of our lives. For example, I had a conversation with my daughter the other day, who's in 3rd grade. And I asked her, hey, are they saying anything in school about this, or this? And she'll say, yeah, Mommy, we saw, a video the other day where these people were talking about, this and that, and, whatever else they were talking about. And it's like, wow, we have to be mindful with our children because they are so pure. They're like little sponges that take in what that outside world is telling them. So as parents, we have to step in and make sure that we are giving them the proper messages for them to hear, no matter what they're being fed out there, and that they can discern the difference, that they know. So my daughter, I spent a lot of time talking to her about that stuff and the messages that are going on out there. And she's got a very acute sense of discernment because I've spent that time talking to her. Now, what my point being here, and I'm going to wrap up this video, is to pay attention. Okay, it's very difficult for me to even watch the news. It's been like this for a while, but now more and more, it feels dirty. That's because there's a lack of purity there. You can hear the lies, you can hear the distortion, you can hear every place it is where they're not telling the truth. All right, and the messaging, you see the agenda behind the messaging, but it is important to see, right, what's going on out there. So we might check in just to see where that outside world is. And there are things out there that might affect us personally. So we got to be aware of these things, right? If there are new mandates being imposed on us, we got to be aware of these things. But then it's very important to disengage. All right, we check in, we observe, we don't attach to it. We just look at it from a place of, wow, isn't that interesting? Wow, from a place of observation. Whoa, isn't that something? Look what's going on out there. All right, so now we know what we need to know, and then we go about our day. We're not tuned in to the social media platforms. In fact, that's one of my commitments to myself, is I'm pulling more and more away from that. Because of the distortion that's there, because of the censorship, because of the messaging, because of the agendas. And I need to hold a purer state inside, and we all do for that reason. So what I want to suggest is that you disengage, you tune in to see what's going on. Where is everybody out there? What's the messaging out there? What is it that I need to be aware of? And then we disengage and we take inventory of what it is that brings us joy, what it is that brings us happiness, and we immerse ourselves in those things, because it's going to be very important over the coming months that we keep our vibration as high as possible. And the only way we do that is by not being intertwined and holding on to or immersed in that outside world that is a world of distortion that is going through a purification process. So as that outside world goes through a purification process, we need to make sure that we have our own checks and balances in place, that we are doing for ourselves to be as pure as possible within. And we do things like meditation, we do things like prayer. Okay, that brings me to my next point, is that, after last night, and watching the Super Bowl, where it was just like, oh my gosh, that wasn't even very enjoyable because of that. It just amplified for me inside. Wow, I am letting go of that outside world. I am walking away, and what I am focused on is my direct connection to God, to Source, to God. And that's what I want to say today is, that's what's going to be most important. And see, that's not what that outside world is telling us. They're distracting us from our direct connection to God. They are doing things that would keep us separated if we're not aware. Okay? So the point of this message is to affirm the distortion that's out there and how it's going to continue to amp up. But as it does, we disengage, and our main focus needs to be on our direct connection to God, where truth, where love, where joy, where peace, where all of that exists. So we spend time in prayer. We spend time in meditation. Prayer, we're talking to God. Meditation, we're listening. And that is how we move through the purification process within ourselves. And we can ask God to show us. where it is we're seeing things from a distorted place, where it is we're holding our own illusions, what's most important for us to know at this point in time, where it is that we can bring our own lives into a place of alignment and truth. So we spend time focused on these things. We take inventory of what brings us joy and we immerse ourselves in those things. Because despite what's going on out there, what I'm feeling inside energetically is that this is a very powerful time to create, even though that outside world is falling apart. Okay, so it is a very important time for us to create. The energies actually support that. So take inventory of what it is you want to create for yourself, what it is you want to bring into your experience, and spend time focusing on that, because whatever it is that you're wanting to create is what's going to be bringing you joy. So with that said, that is really my message, is to take inventory of what brings you joy, immerse yourself in that, do everything possible to keep your vibration high. Go to my YouTube channel, which is Kimberly Thalkin, and I've done a video on how to raise 20 tips on how to raise your vibration. And you do those things, and you spend time in prayer, and you spend time in meditation, and you focus, most importantly, above anything and everything else, your direct connection to God. And that is what is going to pull you through and pull all of us through. Because what we do as an individual is what is how we affect the whole. So there's going to be systems out there like the political system or the financial system that's filled with all kinds of distortion that we may not have direct control of per se. But we do have control over what we do in here. And what we do in here is what affects the greater whole. So one of the benefits of one of the most beautiful things, I shouldn't say benefits, like one of the most beautiful things about 2020 and 2021 is that it is reinforcing oneness, unity, oneness, how it is we're all connected. Because we don't, in the beginning, we don't really feel that. We don't really understand. We don't even realize our own separation it is that we hold inside, right? From ourselves, from the divine, from each other. And this experience is showing us how it's helping us to see and feel oneness, so that we can see it and believe it and feel it for ourselves. Why? Because we're all going through this together. There's not one person out there that we can't talk to about how they have been affected by the outside world in the last year. And so that is one of the beauties of this. So because we are all connected and we're starting to see it and feel it more, oneness, right? Unity, unifying, pulling together, is that we take care of ourselves in here, and by that we're taking care of the world around us. Because if we are all connected, what each one of us does at this time affects, the next person and the next person and the next person. So that is my message here today, is to take note, observe, and go, wow, isn't that interesting? Whoa, I saw that there. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's really something. Now, this message is not to bring down or to leave anybody feeling helpless or hopeless. Just the opposite. It's to lift up, and hopefully through the tips that I've given you is going to show you how to do that. But then also to remind you that, again, when we came into this world, we knew that it was not a place of perfection. And we knew that each one of us had a role in purifying our lives and the world around us through what each one of us individually does. We each have a part in that. So remember that. We didn't come here to create and to live under perfect circumstances. Just the opposite. We saw and we understood its imperfection, and we understood our role to bring to bring this world into a place of perfection by what each and every one of us do on an individual level, so that we can bring here an experience heaven on earth. And it is possible, and it's already happening. But when we see these distortions playing out in the world, we go, wow, okay, that's my signal. There's work to do. There's work to be done here. I better get to it and use every moment to come from my highest place. And I'm going to ask God to show me how to do that. And go out there, live it, be it, do it, uplift other people, remind them of what they came here to be, so that we can all do this together and not get caught up in what that outside world is telling us and the messaging that's coming our way. We see it, we go, nope, not my truth anymore. I see it for what it is. I see you, but I don't believe you anymore. And then we go inside, we focus our connection to God, and we get to work. All right, with that, have a beautiful day. I hope this message has supported you in some way and can support someone else. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I plan to do more of these videos as I get inspired to talk about different topics. And until next time, I have so much love for you. Thank you for being here with me today.